The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Atlanta. Welcome to another Ask the Experts TV show. Today is, when you're a host of a show, you're not supposed to play favorites. But I got to tell you, this expert who's coming on our show, who's been with us for about a year now, is probably one of my favorite shows to do because it's on a subject, weight loss, hormones that many people have problems with. And the biggest problem is either sticking to diets or routines or working out. And we have a MD, a doctor, Dr. Taylor with us today that has studied weight loss and hormones. And what's so amazing about this show is we're going to try to get it to where you're no longer frustrated, because that is the problem with diets. And you're not finding what the main problem is. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Dr. Taylor is with us every month, actually twice a month. And we get the most, emails from this show. Dr. Taylor owns a private practice called Taylor Medical Group. And welcome, Dr. Taylor.
Well, hello. Nice to see you again, Steve, even though it is virtually. It's still
yes.
Nice.
Well, Dr. Taylor, from the emails we're getting, it's amazing. And we're actually getting them now from all over Georgia, not just the Atlanta area, which is kind of nice. But everybody, the first thing they say is, I found your show by accident. I looked it up on what we call the TV guide for all the subscribers. And your show, just so much reaction to your show. And I can never wait to get started because I have learned so much from you when it comes to weight loss, hormone replacement, ED. So because we get so many new people every week, Dr. Taylor, tell everybody about your practice first.
Well, name of my practice is the Taylor Medical Group. It's actually myself and my wife of 36 years. We met in medical school. And I actually started practicing OBGYN. That was my residency at Emory University here in Atlanta. And my wife studied family practice and psychiatry. And we both practiced like we were taught in school for me for about 15 years, my wife for about 8 or 9 years till we had our second child. And that's when we went through a little bit of self-discovery. When after we had our second child, my wife started having hormone issues that as an OBGYN, I wasn't doing a very good job of correcting. And so I had patients coming in about that time, that was late 90s, early 2000s, asking me about natural hormones. And to be honest with you, I knew nothing about it. And you would think, hey, you're OBGYN, aren't you supposed to know about female hormones?
Yeah, Emory Medical School.
Yeah, I knew about Permanent Provera and birth control pills, but I didn't know actually about how human female and male hormones actually work. So anyway, the patient gave me a tape by this Dr. John Lee, who talked about progesterone and estrogen in a way that I had never heard before, but it was really an epiphany. It was really, I could see the light bulb go off in my head, and that actually changed my life, where I started focusing more on how the body is supposed to function, and not how to give drugs to eliminate symptoms. So for the last 15 years, I've been practicing a more holistic or functional medicine type practice. And I call it functional medicine because we try to help patients function at their highest level for as long as possible. And if you give the body what it needs to function, it's kind of like a car. If you change the oil and put the right oil in it, or you make sure the spark plugs that you put in the car are made for that specific car, you put the right tires on it, you don't put any kind of foreign substances or parts in that car, it will function. It'll last, it'll last a long, long time.
Right.
That's what these people do with, these antique cars. They take care of them, and we should take care of ourselves as much as someone should take care of a car. Our life is more valuable than that. So that's kind of how we look at functional medicine. What does the body need? Does it need the right amount of hormone? Does it need a less amount of stress? Does it need the right bacteria in the gut? Does it need the right neurotransmitters in the brain so that your brain doesn't start to diminish function? So that's what we do at the Taylor Medical Group.
So it seems like people do things backwards, including many physicians, when it comes to losing weight. You come into a doctor's office, and I'm not putting doctors down. You come into the doctor's office saying you need to lose weight, and they tell you, go on this diet or work out or stay away from carbs. But what they're not doing is finding out what the problem is.
Yeah. So, by the time someone comes to the doctor for weight loss, the old routine of, calories in, calories out, eat better, exercise more. I always say everybody knows what to do. And a lot of people do it, but they don't get the desired results. And so a lot of times, and the reason why I got interested in weight loss is because mostly women, because it was OBGYN primarily that I was seeing then. These women would come in like, wow, my hot flashes went away. I'm sleeping better. And all of a sudden I lost 10 or 15 pounds, and I really hadn't done anything different. I don't eat, I don't exercise like I was doing, for the last 5 years. And so I've learned to tell patients you cannot diet and exercise your way past a hormone problem. You really can't diet and exercise your way past a gut problem. You can have the wrong bacteria in your gut, and it will cause you to absorb more empty calories, more non-nutritious calories than you should. You can have the wrong or not enough or balance of the right neurotransmitters in your brain, and it's going to make you crave different foods that aren't good for you, but the brain's just looking for extra energy. So it tells you to stop at Krispy Kreme and Dunkin' Donuts, even when you don't want to go there. And it still makes your brain is forcing you. When you have cravings, you really can't control them. And so you need to understand all of that. And once, if your body is functioning at a high level, your body will maintain a normal weight. But if your body isn't functioning like it should, it's very hard to maintain or get to a normal weight.
It's so people get so frustrated too, because these claims that are made, and and we're going to get into how people get started with you, but I got to tell you, because a long time ago I was a personal trainer, and I learned that diet was very important. But you know what? What I've learned from you is you can be low on certain hormones, and it doesn't matter what you do until you fix that problem. You're not going to have any success.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'll give you an example. I had a patient that was a longtime patient of mine, and she was struggling with her weight. She wasn't very overweight, but she was struggling with it. But she also, after like 30 years of marriage, found out that her husband was having an affair and they were going through a divorce. And I told her, I said, look, until all of this stress is resolved, you get the divorce done, you get your finances in order, we're going to really have a hard time. It's just hard because her cortisol was off. And unless she got rid of that stress, her cortisol was never going to correct. So anyway, to make a long story short, like again, this is a patient I had for over 15 years. And 2 or 3 years ago, divorce went through. She got her financial settlement that really like was going to take care of her for the rest of her life. She moved on. Anyway, long story short, she lost 20 pounds just like that. She's happy. She's joining garden clubs and all of this stuff. And it was the stress. And, stress will screw up other hormones like estrogen and progesterone. I can have somebody who I've balanced their hormones and their husband dies, or their parents, they're having to take care of elderly parents with dementia. And all of a sudden, they're hot flashes. All their menopausal symptoms will come back. They'll gain weight because their hormones got disrupted from stress. So, yeah, there's a lot of things that can affect weight other than what you eat or how much you eat or how much you exercise. And a lot of times patients over-exercise, and the stress of over-exercising actually makes them gain weight. So that's the weird balance that you have to try and navigate when you're talking about weight loss and maintaining a weight.
I think also, I was thinking about you this week. Marketers have gotten so good at marketing. I'll just call them supplements. Mm-hmm. And it's, so you order this product and it doesn't work. But again, you never found out what the problem was that was causing you to gain weight. Yeah. And people get frustrated. So they go, well, this isn't working. I'm going to try something else.
Yeah.
And there's really a way to figure all this out. Now, I want to ask you something, because you really believe in holistic medicine, which I do also. Mm-hmm. Are you totally against conventional medicine?
Oh, no, not at all. If you see me clutching my chest on the radio, please call 911. Take me to the nearest cardiac center. I don't want any supplements. I don't want anything. I want to not have a heart attack. Conventional medicine is great. If I have some big tumor in my abdomen, yes, please take it out.
Right.
So no, I am not against conventional medicine, but you have to understand we are taught how to diagnose and treat and surgically remove disease states. So if you have a disease, an acute disease, you may need medication. But then you want to say, how did I get to this point? Okay, what do I need to change to make sure this doesn't happen again, or I can reverse whatever's going on? So I am not against conventional medicine. But the problem with conventional medicine, if you don't have a diagnosable disease that is being able to be diagnosed by conventional therapies or conventional tests, then conventional medicine has very little to offer. So when I talk about disease states, so I know this may be backwards, but left to right, right to left. So this is healthy, this is disease, okay? So you can go to the doctor year after year. You can go to the doctor year after year, and he'll say, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Oh, now the test comes back abnormal. Oh, now you have a disease. Let's give you a medication. Let's do surgery. Well, in functional medicine, we want to find out when you're like right here. Okay, hey, look, something's going on. If we don't do anything right now, what we have to do here is going to be a lot more toxic. It's going to be a lot, more difficult for you to handle. You're going to get more side effects. But if we can change it here and go back to here, it's going to be a lot easier. We're not going to have to worry about medications. We're not going to have to worry. So that's the difference. And when you're right here, you can not feel good, but the doctor is going to say you're fine. And I used to coin this phrase is that the doctor keeps saying I'm not sick, and I keep saying I'm not well. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and both people are right. You're right. You're not well, but the doctor is saying you haven't reached this milestone. And so everybody is frustrated. The doctor is frustrated with you because you keep coming to the office complaining of stuff, and they keep running these tests and they say you're not sick. And the patient says, but I'm not well. The doctor said, but you're not sick. I'm not well. And everybody hates everybody. The patient, the doctor hates the patient, and he doesn't say he hates you, but you can tell he hates you. The staff, they get frustrated when you call. So the staff starts to be rude to you. And it's no fun. I did that for 10, 12 years, and it is frustrating. And the doctors are frustrating because they really do want to help you, but their testing says that you don't have the issues that you need to have for them to be able to help you. That's no fault of yours, but so that's the frustrating. I think that's what frustrates patients with doctors, and it frustrates doctors with patients, and that's no fun. So what I do now, I would tell you 90% of the patients, and I hope some of my patients don't think that I'm talking about them. 90% of the patients I like, where it may have been, before, maybe it was 60% of the patients I like, because I thought the other 40%, they were bothering me. And really they were bothering me because I didn't know how to help them. So, and that's kind of how I was with my wife. I mean, she was having these issues and I didn't know how to help her properly. And so we both went on this journey to try and figure out how we could help patients. And so now we get to know our patients. We spend time with them. We know them, they know us, and I actually enjoy practicing medicine.
How come more doctors don't practice medicine the way you do now?
You know what? I never bash doctors because I did exactly what they're doing the first 10 to 15 years of my practice. If that patient hadn't asked me a question and brought me that tape, I might still be doing the same thing that I was doing, 15, 20 years ago. So I always tell patients the reason why your doctor isn't doing this because they haven't been exposed to the information. And unless you go and look for the information, the drug rep is not going to bring it to your office. And that's how we learned a lot of things, is that the drug reps would bring us information, bring us samples, tell us about different conferences where their sponsored speakers were going to be. And that's a lot of our postgraduate education. Even when you go to the American College of OBGYN or the American College of, cardiology, the exhibit hall is full of pharmaceutical companies and different companies trying to convince you to use their product. You are not going to see the probiotic company or the orange company or the, anything, because they don't really have the budget that it takes to go to these meetings. So that's why more doctors don't do it. Also, I have a practice where it's primarily cash-based because a lot of times insurance companies will not pay for it. And doctors are really tied to the insurance companies and what is covered by insurance. And even patients are like that. Now, I will tell you, I am what we call out of network. And we will bill the insurance company for our services. But a lot of patients have $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 deductibles, and the insurance company's not going to pay anything until you have paid that deductible, just like your car deductible. So it really doesn't cost you any more to come to me than to come to your doctor first, early in the year. And overall, it's going to cost you less because we're going to actually take time to find out what the problem is, correct it, and keep you from being on medication for the next 30 years and keep coming to the doctor to monitor your illness. So it's like anything, you invest a little bit more upfront and it ends up saving you money down the road.
I'm really surprised that more insurance companies don't give major coverage to weight loss, because weight loss, God, strokes, high blood pressure, there's so many things that contribute. Why don't they, yeah, use more coverage for insurance coverage for weight loss?
Yeah, and as you were saying, weight loss is tied to almost every chronic illness. But
Yes.
but insurance companies think being overweight is a lack of willpower. They don't see it as a actual medical problem. They about 2 or 3 weeks ago, 60 Minutes did a whole 20-minute story about insurance companies and weight loss coverage, and that's what they were. And they had these obesity doctors there, and they were saying that, hey, the insurance companies think that if you're overweight, it's just you are weak and have no willpower. And I'll tell you, probably 80% of the time, that's not the case. There's other driving forces. And so the insurance companies don't think it's a medical issue. But they even had a doctor on there who was saying that, hey, we can prove medically that these patients have different genetic makeups. And then there's something called epigenetics, where these enzymes or these chemicals that turn on and turn off genes. And these people have an epigenetic makeup that leads to obesity. So it really can be a medically derived problem. But, insurance companies are very short-sighted. They don't understand that, if they cover some inexpensive things now, it's going to save them a huge amount of money 10, 15 years from now.
Yes.
These patients become older, and now, Medicare, we're talking about cutting Medicare. The way to cut Medicare is make sure that people don't, their last 10 years of their life, they're not, costing Medicare, millions and millions of dollars taking care of these progressive chronic diseases. But, we're fighting over how much we should be allocating to Medicare. Well, allocate some money to keeping these older people healthy throughout their lives, and Medicare would take care of itself. But that's too simple for our government to do. They'd rather fight each other on the floor of Congress than to do something that makes sense. But
Dr. Ted, this is where we normally do
of the station. So that's my opinion.
We normally do a commercial right here, but instead today I'm going to do something a little bit different. Dr. Ted, tell people about your practice. Do you just handle weight loss?
Oh no, we handle functional medicine, and functional medicine leads to weight loss. So we're always looking for a cause or a underlying problem that, and again, it may not be the only reason why you're losing weight. Because again, it's not like I can, correct your hormones and now you can go to Dunkin' Donuts and Krispy Kreme. No, you still have to, try to eat better and have some kind of physical activity. But we practice functional medicine. So, with the COVID outbreak, what we did was, before there was vaccines, we tried to boost the patient's immune system. We give vitamin C IVs, make sure their vitamin D level was okay, make sure their gut, because a lot of the immune system originates from the gut. So we were doing things like that because we said the best defense is to have a healthy immune system. When patients have gut issues, irritable bowel just means your bowel is irritated. You want to know, why is my bowel irritated? So we do GI testing to make sure that there's the right amount of bacteria, there's no parasites. Is the gut functioning well? We use a peptide called cerebrolysin to help with dementia and traumatic brain injuries, to make sure that the brain functions for as long as possible. We do NAD therapy, which helps with anti-aging. It helps the cells to be able to create energy, looking at the mitochondria. So, yeah, So we just don't do weight loss. This is what you wanted me to talk about, so that's what I'm talking
Yes.
about.
So, I
But
mean, what if I had chest pains? Would I come see you?
no.
Okay.
No. And now here's what I would tell you. You would go to the cardiologist first.
Okay.
If we rule out there's no heart issue, then you come to me. Okay. So I love it when patients have been through conventional medicine and they say, we can't find anything. So that lets me know, okay, I'm not missing anything. They have gone and found out they have no true disease. They don't have, a cardiac issue. They don't have a tumor in their gut or whatever. Okay, so now I'm saying it's probably a functional issue. So now if you have chest pain, then, let's look, maybe there's some inflammation there. So I may do a blood test called C-reactive protein. If there's inflammation, there's things we can do to decrease inflammation. So yeah, I don't necessarily like to be the first person that someone comes to for an evaluation. I tell people I am not your primary care doctor. I
Right.
am a specialist that looks at functional medicine. So yeah, first stop for chest pain is go to the emergency room. Make sure you don't have a heart attack or any other type issue that a cardiologist should take care of. Then we can look at other problems with. So maybe you have a gut issue and it starts up here. So yeah. So that's how it works. So that's why I'm saying I am not against conventional medicine. I need for them to rule out. I don't see any cancer. I don't see
Right.
any polyps in the colon. They don't have an ulcer. Okay. All right. So great. Now I can pretty much bet it's a functional problem and not a structural problem. It's not some structure there that's causing a problem whether it's a blood clot in a big vessel going to your heart or a big tumor in the colon or whatever.
What if somebody has acute pain problems? They've been to a rheumatologist, they've been to an orthopedic, and no one can find out what is causing the pain. Would they come to you?
Well, they could. Now, I'll tell you, we do something acoustic wave therapy, sound wave therapy. It works great for musculoskeletal pain. It's the sound wave therapy. If you have any type of chronic musculoskeletal pain, plantar fasciitis, you have some injury to an area that just gives you chronic pain, and it's really just sound waves. And what the sound waves do, they attract blood to that area, because a lot of times it's a lack of blood flow, and so the lactic acid buildup causes pain. So it brings blood flow to that area. It brings these things like growth factors to help regrow or renew the tissue. So yeah, we've seen several people will just have these, nagging injuries that we can do acoustic sound wave therapy on. Also, again, it can be an inflammatory process, and we use vitamin C as an anti-inflammatory agent that works very well for pain. But those would be the top two that I would say that we would use for someone with chronic pain.
Let's give everybody your phone number and your website address if they'd like to make an appointment. It's also running down at the bottom of our screen, but let's give it to them again.
Okay, the telephone number is 678-443-4000, and the website is taylormedicalgroup.net, not .com. Taylor Medical
Got a
Group.
couple of phone calls of people who said it doesn't work.
Yeah,
But
so it's .net, and I would tell you, even if you don't make an appointment or you live somewhere where you can't get to us, but we also do virtual appointments.
Yes.
We do virtual appointments. I have people all over the country that we can do virtual appointments with, but you can just go to the website. We have a lot of information about hormones and functional medicine. So we try to be an information source also because again, just sometimes people do things because they just don't know. And we are trying to spread the word. I spent about 10 years going around the country and some places around the world trying to lecture. But now with these virtual platforms and websites, this was all before, this was very popular. There's all sorts of ways to get the message across. So that's why I do this with Steve, and trying my best to let as many people know that you can live well for most, or if not all, of your life. My goal is to keep living till I die. Hopefully, I'll at 99 years old, somebody will, run over me, and they'll be, I'll be out jogging and get hit by a car. Like, well, that's it. At least I was living till I died.
If you're watching or listening to the show today, and you have somewhat of a health problem, and nobody can find out what that problem is, you know what? You haven't run out of options. Right. You should call Dr. Taylor. He's at 678-443-4000. You have nothing to lose, and you have a lot to gain. And I want to now kind of get into, I think people need to understand that everybody's body is different. There can't be one pill that helps everybody. And if you think of it that way, all these ads you see for weight, I'm going to use weight loss, you've got to find out what the problem is. And that's what Dr. Taylor does. And some doctors do the blood test. Dr. Taylor, you believe in the saliva test. Tell people why.
Well, hormones are made from cholesterol. Cholesterol is fat. So, and that's why you need some cholesterol. It doesn't need to be high, but it also doesn't need to be non-existent. So if you have a fat soluble hormone, it does not like to be in the water soluble blood. Again, I went to Emory University at the OBGYN residency, never drew blood levels of hormones because we knew it didn't tell us anything. So we use saliva for fat soluble hormones: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol. Now, thyroid is a water soluble compound, so you can look for thyroid in the blood, but the others you can't. So again, that changed my life in the course of my career to understand how to measure hormones, because before that, if you were a young person and you had any kind of hormone problem, we gave the person birth control pills. We never measured anything. We just gave you birth control pills, and maybe we try another birth control pill, and we say we hope that works. If you were older, we gave you something called Premarin, or you can now maybe estrogen, and we gave you something called Provera, which is not really progesterone. But again, you can't follow those levels. We just gave it to women, and if their mammogram was positive, we told them to stop taking it. Well, that's what I'm talking about. Wait until you have a disease and then say, oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you monitor and measure them along the way, you can make changes before they ever get to that disease state. And the reason why most doctors don't do it is because they just don't know. And bioidentical hormone replacement, I've been doing it. We wrote the book, Are Your Hormones Making You Sick, 23 years ago. And now, and it wasn't popular then. Now it's popular. So you have a lot of physicians who are jumping on the bioidentical hormone bandwagon and not really understanding what they should be doing. So they draw, it's like, oh, we'll just draw the blood. It'll tell us what to do. And it doesn't. So you end up having a lot of docs who are doing bioidentical hormone replacement, and they really aren't doing it correctly. I used to bite my tongue and not say that, but when you get older, you start to not care what other people think. And I've been doing this for 20 years and I know it works. So I'm saying, if you're getting your blood drawn and you think that they're monitoring your hormones, they are not. They're monitoring what's in the blood. But when your hormones are in the blood, they aren't doing anything. It's only when they get transferred into the tissue that you actually know what is going on. And so Yeah, so I would say that in front of anybody who wants to debate me on it, is that you're not getting accurate information if you're looking at hormones in the blood.
Or is the hormone replacement? You hear people say it's dangerous or it can cause cancers. Is there any truth to that at all?
Okay, that's just a good caveat to what I just said. Okay, so if you're giving hormones blindly, and believe me, if they're following your hormone level in the blood, they are doing it blindly, because you can have a normal level in the blood and you have an excess of the hormone in the tissue, because that fat soluble hormone, it wants to stay in the tissue. It doesn't want to go back into the blood. So you can give. I've seen patients come and they say, "Hey, doc, they keep upping my dose of hormones and I keep feeling worse. And they keep telling me my blood levels saying I'm not absorbing it. And I'll do a saliva test and the hormone levels are through the roof." So, yes, if you don't do it correctly, hormones are dangerous. No doubt about it. Too much of a hormone can cause problems. Too much estrogen can stimulate growth in the breast that can be cancerous, or in the uterus. Too much cortisol, too little cortisol, too much testosterone. I just talked to a guy yesterday. He was feeling bad. He had gone to docs and they were giving him testosterone, even though his blood testosterone said it wasn't low. And I said, "Well, how did that go for you?" He said, "I became aggressive." He said, "I would fly off the handle about anything." He says, "I was almost about to fight my neighbor over nothing," because too much testosterone can make men and women very aggressive. But I'll tell you, if you're a middle-aged man and you walk into a doctor's office and say you're fatigued or you don't feel good or you're gaining weight, they're going to give you testosterone. I don't care what your blood testosterone is, they're going to give it to you. And I will tell you that 9 times out of 10, when I see a guy like that and his testosterone is normal, his cortisol is the problem. That's why he's fatigued. That's why he's gaining weight, is not a lack of testosterone. So, yes, hormones not monitored properly can be dangerous.
Is the saliva testing expensive?
No, not at all. The lab that I use, you can find estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. I charge $135. If you get it straight from the lab, it might be like $160. For men, I just look at estradiol and testosterone. It's like $90. So $90 is a good investment.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah. Now, if I want to look at cortisol, cortisol is 160, because you have to get these 4 samples during the day to see what the cortisol pattern is. But again, you can go and spend a bunch of money on testosterone or whatever, and your real problem has something to, so how much money did you spend on a medication that you really didn't need, that was really going to cause more problems than it was going to solve? So that's kind of how you have to look at it. How much is it worth to you to find out what's really going on?
And that's not a big investment. So we just got a text from somebody that wants to know, why is it different times of the day their weight fluctuates?
Well, you're always going to weigh the least amount in the morning, because overnight, that's when your body, it's called resting and digesting. So while you're resting, your body is processing, absorbing the nutrients and getting rid of the waste. Now, hopefully you have nice, normal daily bowel movements, and you really should have like 2 or 3 bowel movements during the day. And so you're going to eliminate your stool in the morning. So you're going to weigh the least. As the day goes on, your body, if you don't drink enough water, it's going to start holding on to water. You got food that's in the stomach, it actually weighs something, and it hasn't been processed and digested yet. So you're going to weigh more in the evening than you weigh in the morning. So if you're going to monitor your weight, you want to do it, as early as possible before you've eaten anything, maybe as you're getting in or getting out of the shower. That's going to give you a more accurate trend line to see what your weight is doing. So you don't want to weigh yourself in the morning and then weigh yourself in the evening. You're going to get a 2 or 3 pound difference.
I had somebody tell me that when you eat, when you eat a lot, it doesn't show up necessarily the next day. It usually takes a couple days to show up. Is there any truth to that?
To show up in your weight?
Yes. Because, we get a lot of people that scale is like their Bible. I mean,
yeah.
And which is
Yeah.
sad, but,
Yeah.
and that's why I think like this texture right here is frustrated because they weigh a certain amount in the morning when they wake up, and then they do it again several times during the day, and they get different numbers.
Yeah. And that's why I'm saying you really don't want to weigh yourself during the day. You want to weigh yourself the same time every day, and that will give you an accurate kind of trend line. Am I actually gaining weight? And I'll tell you another thing that we do in our office is something called a bioimpedance analysis, which looks at body composition. So when we're doing weight loss, we do a body composition test once a month, because sometimes, especially if a person is working out and we've got their hormones corrected, sometimes what will happen is you may gain 2 pounds of muscle and lose 2 pounds of fat. Your pants fit differently, your dress fits
Right.
differently, but the scale says the same. Well, if you're gaining muscle and losing fat, that's a win, because most people, they don't necessarily care about their weight, they care about how they look. And you can get a bodybuilder and you look at their BMI, they look like they're way overweight, but they go to the beach and all the women are gawking at them. So they could care less about because you used to be a trainer, you said, if you look at the BMI and obesity, these bodybuilders or these athletes, they're overweight, but it's all muscle,
Yes.
So weight is not everything. So that's why we look at that body composition, and it helps people stay encouraged. Like, yeah, hey, don't worry, your weight may have stayed the same, but you lost fat and you gained muscle, and so that's a win. Now, I'll tell you another thing that's an issue is toxicity. When a person is toxic, been exposed to toxins, whether it's in the air or food or whatever, that gets stored in your fat tissue, and sometimes the reason why you rebound or whatever, if you don't try to detoxify yourself at the same time you're losing weight, if you lose the fat, but you don't get rid of the toxins, now you have less fat, but there's more toxins in that fat, your body wants to have more storage space, so it wants to regain that fat. So that can happen. Patients will lose 10, 12 pounds, and then it kind of peters out. Then I'm looking at this bioimpedance analysis can actually tell me, is it a problem with toxicity? And then we can do some kind of detoxification therapy, and we can get their weight loss started again. So that's why I'm saying there's all kinds of issues that are involved in weight loss. And we try to identify as many of those as possible when we see that things may not be progressing as fast as you would like.
Well, we know you got to get out of here. Let's give everybody your phone number, especially the people who are listening on the radio and can't see it on the screen, and your website address, which they can also make an appointment to see you on.
Yeah. So the telephone number is 678-443-4000. And the website address is taylormedicalgroup.net. taylormedicalgroup.net.
Dr. Taylor, as always, we love having you on, and we will see you again. I'm going to have to look at the calendar, but we will be notifying everybody when your next show is. Thank you so much, Dr. Taylor.
All right. Thank you again for the opportunity, and we'll see you soon.
For sure. That was Dr. Eldred Taylor with the Taylor Medical Group. We've still got some time left on the show. Normally we do our business broker show at 10:25, but today our business broker was sick today. So Dr. Taylor was good enough to come on for most of the show today. I want people to understand, we're talking weight loss, that it can become very frustrating. And because you work hard whether you're taking some kind of a pill or you're going on a diet, you work really hard at it at first, but if you don't start seeing results, you know that you are going to throw your hands up in the air and what's the next thing I'm going to do? That's what I love about Dr. Taylor, because he finds out what's causing the weight loss. And then he treats it from there. My fiance she did the over the telephone online with Dr. Taylor because she has trouble sleeping. She is gaining weight and she doesn't eat anything. So it's really frustrating. It's like, I'm not eating fast foods. I'm not eating sweets, sugar, and then I still gain weight. Well, we did the saliva test with Dr. Taylor, and one of the things we found out is her cortisone is so low, which caused her to be tired. She didn't know this. And we also found out what hormones she's low in. Again, if you don't know these things, how do you treat something? So we got the test back, and everything on the test where she was low in hormones makes complete sense. But now we know how to treat it. And Dr. Taylor has put her on supplements, not prescribed medication, but supplements. And first of all, she is actually not as tired anymore. So we've taken care of a huge problem right now. And then the other thing is she's actually starting to see weight loss. Now, I used to tell people that, you know what, if you've been overweight for 20 years, how can you expect in 1 week to lose weight? It just doesn't work that way. But now, after about 60 days, she's actually starting to lose weight. She's starting to sleep now. And so I totally believe in Dr. Taylor. It's not some witchcraft. It's actually getting to the point where you find out why you're overweight. Because like, if you're like me, if I see some ad on TV, I jump on it. I have no idea what's causing me to gain weight. But when after learning with Dr. Taylor, and I'm going to start next, because I want to see why I'm gaining weight. So I hope you've learned today from today's show that, if you have a weight problem, the first thing you got to find out is, why do you have a weight problem? Not because of how you're eating or not exercising, but it's a lack of hormones. And next week, I'm going to talk to Dr. Taylor. We're going to concentrate more on women's weight loss. And I think that'll be an exciting show. We're with you every Wednesday at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Please, if you enjoy the show, give us a like if you're watching the show. And we are going to be back with you again next Wednesday with more Ask the Experts. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and everybody have a safe and healthy week. Thank you, Juan. Great job as always.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.